First of all, I didn't recognize it. I felt it. Something feels off. It seems like no good end is coming. I have a friend dying, another divorcing, and I'm dead flat broke. Needless to say, I feel the ground shifting under my feet. What work no longer does. Rug yanked out from under, my world as I know it is disappearing. I do not see any bright future anywhere, just misery. I want to get a grip, seize something to hold on to, and there is nothing. I draw a blank. I'm completely befuddled. Everything I try to grab onto for security melts between my fingers. My solution has always been to grab something, a beer, a body, a bagel, a book, or bingo. Something to quit feeling uncomfortable. Addictions mask the natural process of being uncomfortable, denying that it is a part of life. In The Complete Idiot's Guide to Buddhism by Gary Gotch, there is a section called The Eightfold Path Meets the 12-Step Program. It says that any alcoholic or drug addict can tell you that the substance abuse is only a symptom of some deeper underlying problem, and they may not even know what it is. The root in Buddhist says that the poison of craving that manifests itself as addiction is a personification of a separate, enduring self, blindly identifying with one's craving. God said that addiction is, by definition, self-perpetuating. From a Buddhist point of view, it perpetuates an illusory self regardless of the consequences of holding on to such an illusion. Understanding the nature of the suffering, its root, its arising, we can see a way out. Our culture is so rife with toxins and addictions that we're all addicted in one way or another. Money, prestige, self-image, ideology, food binges, shopping sprees, noise and music. One can divide any room full of people in half, those in denial and those in recovery. So we're all in the recovery movement in some way. Why was I beginning to see this in myself? In the spring, while attending a 12-step program, a member read a quote from Love Warrior by Glennon Melton. I got the book, read it, and wondered how Melton came to her conclusions in dealing with her own addiction. There was a quote, "So even if the hot loneliness is there, and for 1.6 seconds we sit with that loneliness when yesterday we couldn't even sit for 1 second, this is the journey of the spiritual warrior." I got the book the quote was in. It's written by Pema Chodron. She's a Buddhist nun in Nova Scotia since 1984. It's called When Things Fall Apart. Now I'm in a book study group on this book, and each time we read it and comment, I struggle to get a grip on its meaning. Chodron talks about Buddhism's middle way. Make no moves to do anything to feel better. Anyway, it's a Buddhist retreat in Colorado, and I went there because I wanted to see what Buddhism was like. I took pictures and had wonderful interviews with 3 different people, one of which I will speak about today. His name is Mike Dean, and he is a meditation teacher at Shambhala. The other two are Daniel Hesse, a Buddhist teacher, and Dawa, who escaped from Tibet at the same time the Dalai Lama did. But these are other stories. First, I asked Mike Dean to explain the middle way in terms that a layperson could understand. Mike said that the Buddha tried two extremes. He grew up very rich and then tried a life of austerity, but couldn't find happiness. The middle ground or middle way is free of extremes. I asked him to explain what groundlessness meant. Mike said that nothing is static. It is always evolving. There is nothing to hold on to. The foundation is shifting. Impermanence. Everything is changing. Another way of saying groundlessness. You can't build on it, not eternally. But he also added this. Don't take anybody's word for it. Experience it for yourself. When I think about impermanence, I get shaky and scared inside. It is not something I want to think about. Imagine my world, the whole thing, crashing down around my ears, and nothing is the same. This does not make me happy. Thinking about this immediately makes me want to grab a computer game to ease those uneasy feelings. Mm-hmm. It scares me so that I feel if I even think that it will come into fruition, that my very thoughts will make it real. Pema Chodron agrees. She was talking about Shenpa, spelled Shenpa, which is the original spark of uneasiness. When this happens, I go to my mind and start telling myself stories about the uneasiness. It is like throwing kerosene on the idea and it bursts into flame. Chodron says, we start to see that the difficult emotions we experience cannot be kept alive unless we're talking about it to ourselves, telling stories about our lives and those around us. Okay. In all this unhappiness and suffering, is there a bright side? Yes, there is, if I'm willing to go through the middle way process. On my mother's birthday, September the 3rd, I hit an all-time low. That afternoon, at our book study meeting, a member nailed it for me when she said she was afraid to get too close for fear of being hurt. This brought me right back to my sister's death 16 years ago and to the losses before, like my mother, father, and even my grandfather's death when I was 17. It was all up in my face. I could feel this pain so deep and melancholy still there after all this time. And for once, thanks to Pema Chodron, Mike Dean, and our discussion group, I chose a different way. I was truly nailed, stuck, and for once, instead of stuffing food, I sat in it. I sat in it and I cried for a long time. Then I meditated and it occurred to me that pain is synonymous with suffering, what the Buddhists talked about as one of the Four Noble Truths. What it means is suffering is a normal part of life. It is not wrong. It's not bad. It just is. When I woke up the next day, I found that all that suffering was worth it. I got up and started working on working with Adobe Audition as a sound editor because I was thinking of creating a song to go into Unity's website. I noticed that I was elated and excited. It was something new that I really wanted to learn, and I was actually doing it. I had no instructor, and I couldn't find a book on it. But I did see a short clip on YouTube that explained it a little. So I decided to see if I could learn about it. What I wanted to do was edit out some unwanted sounds. So I highlighted the area and hit delete. It worked. That was it. It was very intuitive and easy to do. Feeling great continued into the week. A whole new world of creativity opened up in an avenue that I thought was shut. This new space happened because I took the time to work on me and face the problem. It catapulted me to a new level. I want to learn new things now, and I'm enjoying what is around me, all of it. For example, I'm thrilled at my new students in my class and in finding out all about them. The world feels different. It's not the world that changed, but my approach to it. Today, I can see it differently because I've worked on myself. I am by no means an authority figure on Buddhism or the middle way, but there is something in my life today I didn't have 6 months ago, and that is penetration into the reasons why I have addiction, and in facing them, I have brought about welcome change. I have a long way to go, but even so, I've had this glimmer of happiness that can be gained by continuing. And is it worth it? Of course it is. That's all I've got. Thank you.